Though it is under near constant assault by buddies Donald Trump and William Barr, the rule of law today showed it very much still has a pulse. Before this morning, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's legal future seemed like a done deal. A three-judge panel in June ordered the judge to drop charges against Flynn as directed by the prosecution. That would be the Department of Justice under Bill Barr. But this afternoon, a federal appeals court in Washington granted a motion to rehear the case. Remember, Mike Flynn pleaded guilty and twice previously confirmed that plea to the charges that he lied to the FBI about his conversations with Russia in court. Joining our conversation, NBC News correspondent Carol Lee, plus former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI, Frank Figliuzzi. Carol Lee, first take us through sort of the legal effort that is underway and what it means that the full circuit will now hear this case.
Well, so this is just the late, if you step back, Nicole, this is the latest development in something that's been going on for almost 2 years. Flynn was first put before Judge Sullivan in December of 2018 for his sentencing. And obviously that didn't happen. There's been a number of iterations of and attempts to sentence Flynn. Flynn, now, as you mentioned, requested to withdraw his plea. And then the Justice Department got involved and told the judge that they were going to dismiss the charges. And that's when Judge Sullivan said, no, I'm going to appoint a former judge to argue why I shouldn't dismiss these charges, and wanted to have that hearing. Flynn's team came in and asked an appeals court to basically stop that and rule against Judge Sullivan and strip him of the ability to do that. The panel of judges said okay and agreed with Flynn. And now what's happening is the full court is willing to hear this, and that really resets the table on this question of whether or not Judge Sullivan will get to eventually have this hearing. Now, one option that could come back after the full appeals court hears this on oral arguments on August 11th is that they say, okay, fine, you can go ahead with your hearing with this former judge and hear arguments for and against whether or not Sullivan has to dismiss the case. But here are some parameters in which you need to do that. And so they could kind of restrain him a little bit and not just give him broad running room. We just don't know. But again, this is something that's been going on for quite some time. We've really not seen anything like it. And by the way, it's worth mentioning that hanging over all of this is the possibility that President Trump comes in and issues a pardon. He might want to wait until it's less than 2 weeks until this hearing. He may not want to come in and do that before this fully runs through the court system. But he's been very candid that it's something he's considering, and increasingly said, that he's looking at it. So it'll be really interesting to see where this goes next. I got to tell you, I haven't followed this for a couple of years. It's like every time you think you're getting to the end of this, something else happens and it keeps going.
And Frank Figliuzzi, the reason every time you're thinking you're getting to the end of it, and we should be at the end of it, because as soon as he was charged, he confessed. When he was in court, he affirmed his guilty plea twice before this judge. And this is one of the two cases in which Barr has intervened in such a reprehensible way that it's resulted in the resignation of career DOJ prosecutors who got involved when Barr totally reversed the government's standing on this. The government prosecuted this case because Flynn lied to the FBI about, of course, wait for it, Russia, his contacts with Russians. What do you think the prospects are for the judge to actually hold Flynn to his guilty pleas?
Yeah, this is fascinating. And Carol very helpfully helped to shape the narrow focus that this is likely about. It's about whether or not the trial judge can have this hearing and move forward, or whether Flynn actually appealed prematurely and needs to wait for this to happen before he appeals whatever's going to happen. But understand the stakes here. If indeed, as Carol said, they are loose in the parameters of the hearing, the kind of hearing this judge can have, think about what we could see play out in this hearing. The judge is going to say, hey, DOJ, why did you move to dismiss this case? I need all the facts. I would like to call witnesses. Maybe one of those witnesses will be the Attorney General of the United States who can help me understand why this case needs to disappear. Because I think General Flynn lied to me at least once, if not twice, in my own courtroom. If that happens, I don't think President Trump can allow it to happen, because the facts will be quite ugly about who intervened and why the Flynn case needs to go away. And if you need any further clue about that, at least one judge on the Circuit Court of Appeals recused himself from today's decision. Do you know why? Because he used to work for the Trump administration, and he thinks there's a conflict of interest for him. There's a conflict of interest because this case is far bigger than General Flynn.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.